read the para.
We have read. We have to redo it.
Okay, I'll read each para, each sentence, and then we'll see. Right. All truths, even those which seem to be in conflict, have their validity, but they need a reconciliation from some largest truth which takes them into themselves. Okay. All philosophies have their value, if for nothing else, then because they see the self and the universe from a point of view of the spirit's experience of the many-sided manifestation, and in doing so shed light on something that has to be known in the infinite. Huge sentence, but this is what. Very simple to understand that at every level, it's like climbing a mountain. When you are in the valley, you see certain things. When you go up 10 meters on the mountain, you see something else. When you go even higher up, you see it's very, very clear when you are flying. No? When you are at the airport, you are seeing certain things. You are not seeing so many other things. Then when the plane starts climbing up, you see you see the whole town, you see totally different. You're not seeing what you were seeing on the airport anymore. And you go even higher up, then you see your whole district. Okay. And you go into space, you will see the whole earth. So these are not opposites. They are different aspects, which is revealing to you step by step. That's what he's saying. No? So all truths. There's a truth at level 1, there's a truth at level 2, there's a level truth at level 3, there's a truth at level 10, there's a truth of level 100, there's a truth at level infinity. There are truths, but they seem to be in conflict. What you're seeing at one level, you are not seeing at another level. That's not a contradiction, but to get the harmony of that, you have to go even higher, even higher, even higher. That's what he's saying. All truths, even those which seem to be in conflict, because at our level, everything is in conflict. Compassion and cruelty, okay, darkness and light, okay, good and bad, everything is there. All opposites in the physical world, and they are valid. Remember, that's the whole. There's a truth to it, because the one has divided itself and made itself into the many, and when it goes to the extreme many, which is our level, we see opposites. Nothing very difficult to understand. Okay. Then you start going up slowly, slowly. These differences get harmonized, 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 and finally everything becomes one. That's what he said. And this one is not a summation. That's the important part. It's not a sum of this plus this plus this plus this. It's much more than that. It is something which the mind cannot understand. How can light and darkness be the same? But it is the same at another level. Okay? But they need a reconciliation in some largest truth, which takes them into itself. So all these, when you go to the supermental level, all these many are absorbed and they become one at the highest level. That's what he said. Therefore, all philosophies have their value. Shankara has a value, Ramanujan has a value, Madhvacharya has a value, and some of those, finally, the integral system has the best value until now. That doesn't mean to say that there's an end. It can go on and on and on. And beyond that, nobody has gone yet, so we don't know. It is unexplored territory beyond the supermind. So this is what we have to keep in mind. The divine is infinite, so he can never stop his journey. It goes on and on. It's not easy for the mind to understand this. How can it go on and on? There will be an absolute perfection should be there somewhere, you feel. But that's because of our mind. Our mind is limited. That's why we don't understand that. So all philosophies have their value. Dash, if for nothing else, comma, then because they see the self and the universe from a point of view of the spirit's experience in the many-sided manifestation, and in doing so shed light on something that has to be known in the infinite. The divine is telling you, experience this, experience that, experience that. Okay. When visitors come to Pondicherry, they go to dining hall. I'm giving a very banal example. You go to the dining hall and you get your food, a certain type of food. But then somebody else will say, no, I want to see whether other things are there. Then you go to corner house, you get another type of food. And somebody else will say, no, I want to go to, earlier days, mother used to have a kitchen for Europeans. Okay. It was called Regis Guest House. Okay. And he used to cook non-veg. So the divine is telling you, have this experience, have that experience, have this experience, and each experience you have to go to another level, another level, another level. So that's all. Okay, so many-sided manifestation, and in doing so, shed light on something that has to be known in the infinite. And infinite, you can go on having any number of experiences. And in the lower levels, when you have one experience, you don't necessarily have the other experience. Okay, and as you keep going higher and higher, all these experiences start becoming compatible with each other. They are not opposites. All spiritual experiences are true, but they point towards some highest and widest reality which admits their truth and exceeds them. Now, let's pay attention to the words. All spiritual experiences are true, not the worldly experiences. They are not true. Okay, spiritual level 2. Okay, higher mind, element mind, intuitive mind, they have their values. They are true. Even those are true partly. Okay, but they point towards some highest and widest truth. Okay, reality, which admits their truths and exceeds them. So when you go to the higher level, you see that, each philosophy has got its own validity, but it is incomplete. You have to go to the highest, which is level 3. Okay. All spiritual experiences are true, but they point towards some highest and widest reality, which admits their truth and exceeds it. This is, we may say, a sign of the relativity of all truth and all experience, since both vary with their outlook and their in-look of the knowing and the experiencing mind and being. Each man is said to have his own religion according to his own nature, but so too each man may said to have his own philosophy, okay, his own way of seeing and experience of existence, though only a few can formulate it. Now that's interesting. So, in other words, there is an object and a subject. At each level, there is an object and a subject. And this objectiveness, science is objective, it's an outlook. And yoga is the in-look. You look into yourself, okay, of the knowing and experiencing mind and being. The experiencing mind is the subject, and the being is the object which you want to know. And each man is said to have his own religion, which is exterior, according to his own nature. But so too each man may be said to have his own philosophy, which is interior. So this is what same thing. Religion is always exterior, because religion is when you use physical means, okay, and you think that that's the truth. But that's not absolute truth. So there's a slight difference between religion and philosophy. Philosophy, you look inwards. Right? Though only a few can formulate it. Now look at that. Because language exists at our level only. In the spiritual planes of consciousness, there is no language. There is no language. There is only expression, but in subtle terms. Okay. So that is why the truth is revealed from the spiritual plane upwards in symbols. It is not, there are no words used. You see the truth. And that is the reason why even when you are guided by the divine, they give the guidance through images. When you are having dreams, they are all symbolic images, and they give you a great amount of guidance, but you have to understand the symbol. You have to interpret the symbol correctly. Okay? This is very important. There is no language up there. But though, who can formulate it? Those who have a grasp of whatever language they have. Okay? So there, Sri Aurobindo is absolute master. And he gives very good credit also to Plato and Shankara. Everybody doesn't have a mind which is wide and vast, a normal mind, which can formulate it correctly. That's the thing. Take for instance Sadhguru, and take also for Jiddu Krishnamurti, who has passed away. Okay, Swamdev even made a comment about Jiddu Krishnamurti. His expressions are puerile. Puerile means childish. Okay, you don't use correct language, but behind the language there is a truth. What they are you saying, there is a truth, but it is behind the language. I am reading now a book, very interesting book I told you about. Let me tell you. I am showing you. This is the book. Okay. Yeah. Laws of the spiritual world. It's a very interesting book. It's about it's written by a Parsi lady. She had two sons, and the two sons passed away in a car accident. But they were very subtle. They must have been already at the sattvic level, and they went up in the spiritual world, and they are not taking birth again. At present, they did not when their book was written, and they were guiding their mother. Okay, and the whole book is a automatic writing. But I can tell you, the truths that they were revealing to their mother is wonderful, but the language, language is most defective. But behind the language, you can see that the truths they are uttering are all correct. Okay, language is very crude, because so that's what they're saying here. Though only a few can formulate it, who put it in the right words, as close to the truth as possible. Everybody doesn't have a developed mind. Okay? So the way you speak is very important for those who are in the physical world. So, experience is the same for everybody, but how are you going to experience it? Even in our physical world, when you see something, okay, there are 20 people looking at something, each one will have a different impression of that. They will tell you different stories. Okay, so we'll go to the next sentence. But from another point of view, this variety testifies rather to the infinity of aspects of the infinite. So you can say that everything is relative, and you won't be wrong. But you can also say that all these are different ways of looking at the infinite. You can say that also. Each one will be, it will be correct. Okay. So the story of the elephant and the blind man. Okay. So 7 blind men went and touched the elephant, and each one is describing what the elephant is in a different way. One is touching the trunk and saying, oh, one is touching the leg and saying it's like a pillar. One is touching the flank and saying it's like a wall. One is touching the tail and saying it's like a rope. Okay, so this is what the philosophies are. Each one is describing only one aspect. Each catches a partial glimpse or a whole glimpse, okay, of one or more aspects or contacts, or enters into it in his mental or his spiritual experience. So it can be different types of things. To the mind at a certain stage, all these viewpoints begin to lose their definitiveness in a large catholicity or a complex tolerant incertitude. Now look at that. Okay? A tolerant incertitude. In the spiritual planes of consciousness, this is what happens. It's a large catholicity or a complex tolerant incertitude. Why is the incertitude? Because we see the difficulty in determining what is the ultimate reality. Okay? When you are in the spiritual planes of consciousness, which means the level 2, there is both Purusha, Prakriti, there is both spirit and matter, both are real, but they exist together, but they are not the same. So there is a little doubt, which is the ultimate reality. Is it spirit or is it matter? Okay. So, in fact, if you are a scientist, you will wonder, which is producing? Is spirit the originator of everything, or is matter the originator of everything? Because both are originators, na? In the evolution, matter is the originator. From matter is coming out life and mind. And on the other hand, if you are a spiritual man, you will see that, oh, everything is coming from down. It is an involution. So you have a doubt. But all those doubts disappear when you go to the supermind. Okay? So this is what Sridhar is saying. So when you are in the spiritual planes of consciousness, you can have a tolerant incertitude. You are not sure of everything, but you tolerate. You wait patiently. You don't jump to conclusions like the ascetic. The ascetic says, okay, maybe there is uncertainty, but I am certain that I want to go into the absolute non-existence. I want to blot my egos and all that out, and I want only soul substance. That is possible. So complex, tolerant incertitude. Each one who goes to the spiritual level will have a different experience. That's what Sandhu is saying. The word complex suggests that. or or all the rest may fall away from it and yield place to an ultimate truth or a single absorbing experience. Okay. I was reading the letters, okay, volume 22, I think, and there he explains. He says that when you go to the spiritual planes of consciousness level 2, you have a choice to make. If you see the physical world as unreal and you come to the conclusion like the Buddhists that the ultimate reality is a nihil, it's a complete blank, then you can choose to really go into an absolute blank. You can choose, you can go to that. But it's a negative blank. You blot yourself out from existence. That's a choice you have. Okay. But if you are a follower of Sri Aurobindo, or you want to go to the, I want to include everything. I want to include the highest and the lowest. Then you go to the supermind. So that's a different path. So there are so many different paths from the spiritual planes onwards. You can, the Buddhist philosophy is absolutely right. There's nothing wrong in it. You can go to an absolute disappearance of your everything. Not only body, mind, life, but even your ego, even yourself disappears and becomes infinite. Okay, that's one. But you may say, I don't want myself to disappear. I will be infinite, but I want to go into something which is positive infinity, not negative infinity. So you go to the supermind. That's what Sridhar is saying here in a different way. Just look at the sentence. Or all the rest may fall away. Okay, only the experience of the what you're seeing, the reality from it, and yield place to an ultimate truth or a single absorbing experience. The ultimate truth is supermind. Or a single absorbing experience means you can either go this way or that way. It can be so many different types of things. Okay? It is then that it is liable to feel the unreality of all that it has seen and thought and taken as part of itself or its universe. This is why he is writing, Sundar is writing in one letter to Dilip Kumar Roy. Dilip Kumar Roy is having doubts and all that about faith and all that. So Sundar says, what doubt you are talking about? I had immense, enormous doubts I had. Okay. So his Sundar's doubt is spiritual. Okay. Dilip Kumar Roy's doubts are very, very mental. Okay. So those doubts can exist. Okay. So that's what. But it's very satisfying. You don't jump to conclusions in the spiritual place of consciousness. It's very, very satisfying. You have peace. You may have the other things also a little bit. Not fully. Power, love, peace, knowledge, all these things are also available there, but not fully. This all, in double quotes, becomes to it a universal unreality or its universe. If you are an ascetic, it becomes a universal unreality. And if you are a you see a cosmic consciousness, then it becomes a universe. Okay, so you have seen that. Liable to feel the unreality of it all, one experience is possible, that it has seen and thought and taken as it. This all becomes with a universal unreality or a many-sided fragmental reality. This is the second level, spiritual planes of consciousness. Many-sided fragmental reality without a principle of unification. Okay, this is the level 2, without a unification. Purusha, Prakriti are separate, consciousness and force are separate, okay? Saguna and Nirguna are separate, personal and impersonal are separate at this level 2. As it passes into the negativing, purity of an absolute experience, all falls away from it, and there remains only a silent and immobile absolute. Okay. But the consciousness might be called to go farther. So this sentence that we read just now, level 2 again. Okay. Negativing purity of an absolute experience. It seems to be a total blank. All falls away from it, and there remains only a silent and immobile absolute. This is possible at level 2. But there is another possible experience also. But the consciousness might be called to go farther. Don't limit yourself only to level 2, but go to level 3 and see again all it has left in the light of a new spiritual vision. It may recover the truth of all things in the truth of the absolute. So you go to the third level, all the partial things that you saw in level 2 become absolutely harmonized to you. It may reconcile, it is the consciousness, it may reconcile the negation of nirvana and the affirmation of the cosmic consciousness in a single regard of that of which both are self-expressions. If you go to the supermind and you come one step down, it's possible to see the physical world as unreal, and it's also possible to have the cosmic consciousness and see it as real. That's what he's saying. In the passage from mental to overmind cognition, this many-sided unity is the leading experience. There you are. Very clearly he is telling you that in the spiritual planes of consciousness, when you are rising from higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind to the overmind, from mental to overmind cognition, this many-sided unity, you are seeing that all are there, but they are not absolutely one. Okay? There are many, you see the many, but they are all there together and all are real. Is a leading experience. The whole manifestation assumes the appearance of a singular and mighty harmony which reaches its greatest completeness when the soul stands on the border between overmind and supermind and looks back with a total view upon existence. So when you go to the border of the overmind and the supermind, then you see that there is the possibility of a great harmony. They are not opposites or they are not contradictory elements. They are all real and they are all essentially, you see the possibility of a total harmony. We can now read the next para. This is at least a possibility that we have to explore. So Swamila is saying, if that's a possibility, read it. Yeah.
Today I have time, I'm reading.
Yeah.
This is at least a possibility that we have to explore and pursue this view of things to its ultimate consequence. A consideration of the possibility of a great cosmic illusion as the explanation of the enigma of being had to be undertaken because this view and experience of things presents itself powerfully at the end of the mental spiral, where that reaches its point of breaking or point of cessation. But once it is ascertained that it is not the obligatory end of a scrupulous enquiry into the ultimate truth, we can leave it aside or refer to it only when needed in connection with some line of a more plastic course of thought and reasoning. Our regard can now be concentrated on the problem that is left by the exclusion of the illusionist theory, a solution, the problem of the knowledge and the ignorance.
Yeah. And that problem of knowledge and ignorance is the next chapter. Okay. So that's what he's saying is, we'll see each sentence. The basic burden of this paragraph is that now we have been able to understand that there is a truth to all the planes of consciousness. But how is this one becoming the many? What is knowledge and what is ignorance? Is seeing the many and knowledge is seeing the one. Now what's the relation between them? What causes this difference? That is the next chapter. Okay. So he's saying that when you come to the border of the overmind and the supermind, because many don't come to even to the border of the overmind. They are very satisfied with the experience of the higher mind and even illumined mind, And even intuitive mind, you can go right up to the intuitive mind. But when you cross over to the overmind and you are standing at the border between overmind and supermind, your view of things completely changes. So he says, if that is true, then it is worth finding out what is above. Why should we stop there? Okay. So this is at least a possibility that we have to explore and pursue this view of things to its ultimate consequence. What is the ultimate truth? Let's go there. A consideration of the possibility of a great cosmic illusion as the explanation of the enigma of being had to be undertaken. It's an experience that is necessary spiritually. Why? Because this view and experience of things presents itself powerfully at the end of the mental spiral, where that reaches its point of breaking or point of cessation. Okay. Either it breaks and you have a doubt as to what's the break is between spirit and matter, or point of cessation, everything ceases to exist. But once it is ascertained that it is not the obligatory end of a scrupulous inquiry, why does the experience of nirvana come? Why does the experience of the universe being unreal come? Because to tell you that what you are seeing as the many and thinking that it's a reality is not so. Go to a higher level. But when you go to the higher level, another problem arises. So they're saying, go even further, go even further. So the divine is leading you from one truth to a greater truth to the greatest truth. So at every stage, like the play, the ascent to the truth, you must not stop at any one level. You must go on, go on, go on. And he's saying you must go to the ultimate consequence. That's the problem. Okay? But once it is ascertained that it's not the obligatory end, you don't need to become a Buddhist or a Shankaran. You can go even more. That's what he said. Once it is ascertained that it is not the obligatory end of a scrupulous inquiry, if you inquire very, very honestly and very, very carefully, you will ultimately go to the ultimate truth. We can leave it aside. Now the experience of nirvana, you can keep it for reference only, he said. We don't need to think that that's the ultimate truth. We can leave it aside or refer to it only when needed in connection with some line of a more plastic course of thought and reasoning. Okay? With some line of a more plastic course of thought and reasoning. Don't jump to any conclusion at one level and think that that's the last. Be more plastic. Our regard can now be concentrated on the problem that is left by the exclusion of the illusionist solution. And what is that? The problem of the knowledge and the ignorance. So we have concluded that there is an object, there is a subject, and the subject is trying to understand the object. And you use the instruments of knowledge. So at every level, there is instruments of knowledge. So what is that instrument which is causing this difficulty? This is what we have to find out. And he will tell you that that's the power of the divine to create forms. Okay? That is the real problem. So you have to examine what that power is. The power to create forms is to break up the infinite oneness into the infinite many. That's a power. It's not an ignorance, it's a power. So that is what the next chapter is after 4 or 5 pages. Okay, the knowledge and the ignorance. That's what we will examine. Okay, so we can read the next para. It's a 1-page para, we can read it.
Shall I read?
Yes, please, Yasmin.
All turns round the question, what is reality? Our cognitive consciousness is limited, ignorant, finite. Our conception of reality depend on our way of contact with existence in this limited consciousness and may be very different from the way in which an original and ultimate consciousness sees it. It is necessary to distinguish between the essential reality, the phenomenal reality dependent upon it and arising out of it, and the restricted and often misleading experience or notion of either that is created by our sense experience and our reason. To our sense, the earth is flat, and for most immediate practical purposes within a limit, we have to follow the sense reality and deal with the flatness as if it were a fact. But in true phenomenal reality, the flatness of the earth is unreal. And science, seeking for the truth of the phenomenal reality in things, has to treat it as approximately round. In a host of details, science contradicts the evidence of the senses as to the real truth of phenomena. But still, we have to accept the cadre provided by our senses because the practical relations with things which they impose on us have validity as an effect of reality and cannot be disregarded. Our reason, relying on the senses and exceeding them, constructs its own canons or notions of the real and unreal. But these canons vary according to the standpoint taken by the reasoning observer. The physical science, probing into phenomena, erects formulas and standards based on the objective and phenomenal reality and its processes. To his view, mind may appear as a subjective result of matter and self and spirit as unreal. At any rate, he has to act as if matter and energy alone existed and mind were only an observer of an independent physical reality, which is unaffected by any mental processes or any presence or intervention of a cosmic intelligence. The psychologist, probing independently into mind consciousness and the mind unconsciousness, discovers another domain of reality, subjective in its character, which has its own law and process. To him, mind may even come to appear as the key of the real, matter as only a field for mind, and spirit, apart from mind, as something unreal. But there is a further probing which brings up the truth of self and spirit and establishes a greater order of the real in which there is a reversal of our view both of the subjective mind realities and objective physical realities so that they are seen as things phenomenal, secondary, dependent upon the truth of the self and realities of the spirit. In this deeper search into things, mind and matter begin to wear the appearance of a lesser order of the real and may easily come to appear unreal.
Yeah. One page. Okay. So, knowledge and ignorance. Yes. Hello. Yeah. Okay. So, knowledge and all turns around the question: what is reality? Okay. This is the question that is. There are two things. There is a epistemology and there is ontology. Ontology is the process of knowledge which tries to find out what is real and what is unreal. This is one. And epistemology is what is the nature of knowledge. Knowledge is one and the reality is another. So these are the two subjects which all philosophers have to deal with. Epistemology, which is a study of knowledge. How do you get knowledge? At one level it is senses, at another level is intuition, at another level it is identification. So the instruments of knowledge, epistemology looks into that. But what is reality? A shadow is unreal, the blue sky is unreal. So that is the subject of ontology. These are all branches of philosophy. Okay. So question, what is reality? Our cognitive experience is limited, ignorant, finite. Okay, there's no doubt about it, because we know even at our level that our senses are not giving us a reality. We get confused by color blindness. We also get confused by the hearing, and we also You can create illusions in the physical world even on paper by drawing things which seem to be parallels, actually which are not parallel. You can create all the illusions, okay? So everything is finite and ignorant and limited. Our conceptions of reality depend on our way of contact with existence. There you are. Our way, subject. Existence, object. Way of contact, the knowledge. Okay. So, again we come back to the idea of the percipient, the perceived, the percept, and the perception. Okay. There is a huge chapter dealing exactly with this subject. In this, so it depends on the instruments of knowledge that we use. That's what he's saying. Our way of contact with existence, it depends on that. So when they use the words, our way of contact with existence, I use a more something which is more applicable and easier for us to understand, because when they're saying way of, because he is including all the different instrumentations. That's why he's saying way of contact with existence. In this limited consciousness, and may be very different from the way in which an original and ultimate consciousness sees it. They're all different. It is necessary to distinguish between essential reality and phenomenal reality. Phenomenal reality, the transient forms in the physical world. All the forms in the physical world are transient. The universe itself is eternal, but all the forms in the universe are phenomenal, transient, temporary. Okay, but as you keep going higher and higher, there is an essential reality which is not subject to transience. It is eternal. It exists by itself. You can also use the word uncreated for that. And the phenomenal world is creation. The other day we were seeing that, no? Whatever is created in time and space is relative. It exists for a certain time. There is something which is uncreated, that is God. Even our soul is uncreated. Okay? So our body is created, soul is uncreated. Phenomenal reality. So this is, he's referring back to Shankara. Essential reality and phenomenal reality. I mean, Srivastava's philosophy is different, but this is what Shankara was stressing. Okay, Paramarthika Satta and Vyavaharika Satta. Vyavaharika, practical truth. Vyavahara in the physical world, and Paramartha, Parama Artha, the supreme reality, essential reality, depend upon it and arising out of it. And the restricted and often misleading experience or notion of either that is created is flat and for the most immediate practical purposes within a limit. Wait. I didn't read the sentence correctly. Sorry. To our sense, the earth is flat. For most immediate practical purposes, within a limit, we have to follow the sense reality and deal with the flatness as if it were a fact. But in true phenomenal reality, the flatness of the earth is unreal, and science, seeking for the truth of the phenomenal reality in things, has to treat it as approximately round. In a host of details, science contradicts the evidence of the senses as to the real truth of phenomena. Usually we refer to this thing as in three images. One, the sun is rising and moving. Your senses are telling you that the sun is rising. Your senses are telling you that the earth is flat. Both are not true. Then the other one is the blue sky. The sky is not blue at all. When you go there, there is no blueness. And the rainbow. These are all the limited sense experience. That's what they say. Okay, so, but in the flatness of the earth is unreal, and science seeking for the truth of phenomenal reality in things has to treat it as approximately wrong. In a host of details, science contradicts the evidence of the, oh, we have crossed our time. 8:37. We have to stop because all of you have to go for your work. Okay, so I'll just finish with one. He is dealing here with three views. One is the physical scientist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line from the bottom of my page. Okay, the physical scientist sees in one way. Then there is the psychologist who sees in another way, and finally the spiritual man sees it in another way. So these three ways he is discussing in this para, which we will do next time. Okay, the physical scientist, the psychologist, and the spiritual man. So these three we'll finish next time. That is tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow. Okay. So, au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day.
Okay.